Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning to those of you where maybe on the West Coast or earlier. The voice you hear is Dan Sloan. I am Director of Strategic Partnerships for SME, and really thrilled to welcome everyone in for what will be a discussion with this year's 2024 Excellence in Manufacturing Training Award winner. The company that earned this year's award, as you see on the screen, is Kubota Manufacturing of America. And in a moment, it'll be my privilege to welcome in Tim Miller, who is their senior training manager, who is going to be sharing their program with all of us here today, and we'll get into some Q&A. Before we get started, maybe just some housekeeping and some introductory remarks. The award, if you're not familiar, this is an opportunity for Tooling U-SME and SME to share with all of you and out across our workforce development ecosystem and with our network of employers and schools and partners, really those terrific examples where employers are winning the war on talent, right? And winning the war on talent, as many of you know, really has become so critical, but also so expansive, as there's no shortage of challenges and opportunities, whether it's to recruit new talent and expose those careers and opportunities in your communities for jobs and good employment in your facilities, to work with your community and with your schools and with your community partners to help attract and develop those necessary skills, and then really recruit and onboard and upskill and retain that most valuable resource, your manufacturing and then your engineering workforce. And so in today's example with Kubota, it's going to be very exciting to talk about all the ways they're working out to the left in their community, as well as all of the terrific programs they're building to onboard and upskill and retain their employees. And so in just a moment, we'll be bringing in Kubota Manufacturing. For those of you who may have participated in some of these discussions before, and for all of you really, there will be an opportunity to interact via the Q&A chat function. You'll notice it's on my screen on the bottom right. I think for the attendees, you can look for something called Q&A. You can keystroke in your chat message. And we're generally going to hold Q&A until the end of the session. And so after Mr. Miller speaks about his program, for the first half of today's session, we'll call it, say, the first 20 to 30 minutes. And after that, we'll open up the floor and we'll get into some interactive Q&A with all of you about the program, and looking forward to that as well. I will also say up front that we are recording the event, and we will be making the event accessible after today's recording. So there will be a link. You'll have access to the slides. And so with that, let's go ahead now and bring in our award winner and our guest today. I'm not going to steal too much of his thunder. I know there's a lot that can be said about Kubota Manufacturing of America. You'll come to learn how they have over 3,700 employees in the Gainesville region, just north of Atlanta, down in Georgia. They produce a vast majority of parts and components into all of the tractors and equipment that you may be familiar with from Kubota. And so we'll let Tim speak a little bit about the facility. As far as Tim himself, I mentioned he's the senior training manager for Kubota Company. He actually has over 25 years in learning and development experience, oftentimes launching learning and development organizations from the ground up, from scratch. And so he brings a unique perspective of what it takes to really build the business case and earn that commitment from the organization, and then all the work that goes into building some of these best-in-class programs. And so maybe with that, Tim, hello, welcome to our discussion today, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much, Dan. And I have to say what an honor it is to speak to the SME and Tooling U teams as well as this great audience that we have. I sincerely appreciate everybody that's on today, and I'm hopeful that some of the things that you'll hear will be something you can use at your company and will help you. My background, yes, I'm 37 years in the equipment industry. I have 25 plus years in learning and development. Some of the organizations that we started have gone global. Not only employee training, but also dealer training. The companies that I've worked for are structured very much like an automotive company, where there's the manufacturer selling to a dealer and the dealer to the customer. So there's employee support as well as dealer training. Here at Kubota Manufacturing, we're focused on the employees. So it's a little bit different, being just employee focused. So if it's all right, I'll kind of give us an introduction into KMA. I'm going to start very broad stroke, and some of you may not be familiar with Kubota Manufacturing, that sort of thing. And I'll start and narrow that down to what we do here in Georgia, and then we'll take a look at the curriculum we develop, the partnerships we have, and the way that we run this part of our business. So the very first part of our agenda here will run very, very quickly. It's going to go very briskly. But what I thought I'd do is start off by letting our customers tell you what it means when we say for earth or life. So my apologies if some of you can get the audio. Basically, it's the best commercial ever made in the history of commercials, and it's awesome. So if you ever get a chance to watch it, but that's okay. What it's saying is that we're here. Yes, we build products, but those products are built to support our customers' dreams. Whether that's a farm, whether it's homesteading, whether it's their home. We are here to support our customers. And our purpose statement that we're rolling out now fits in with that because we exist with our view of how we treat our employees and our company. Yes, we generate products, but we are here to build a better future for our employees. And so that through them, we can make generational impacts, not only in their families, but the communities and to our customers. Yes, we must have a sustainable and resilient and growing business that has innovation to make that happen. But we're about the customer and we're about our employees. The origin of Kubota, we go back to 1890 when Gunshiro Kubota began making cast iron water pipes to provide clean water to rural Japan. Since then, we have locations all across the world with over 40,000 employees worldwide. And the revenue map shows that the North America market is very important to the overall growth of Kubota, representing some 1/3 of the total revenue for the company. So let's narrow down a little bit to North America. We have our dealer facing and dealer support company, the sales, marketing, service, parts, located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Kubota Tractor Corporation. You'll see in the Chicagoland area, Kubota Engine of America. They manufacture and distribute our engines. They're Great Plains Manufacturing. They're in Kansas, produces products for us. And then there's the division offices, including a division office here in Georgia. But if we narrow down to the bright red star, we come down to Kubota Manufacturing of America. We have 3 campuses here. We have the Gainesville campus, which is the corporate offices, as well as 3 manufacturing plants. Just 4 miles north of us, we have 1 plant and a second one under construction that'll be online in April. And then 25 miles to the southeast, we have our Jefferson campus. Now, I know that some of you like to look at the toys, so I thought I'd throw in some pictures of our toys. We have residential zero-turn mowers and commercial mowers that are made here in Gainesville, along with our compact tractors and lawn tractors. Our most popular, bottom right corner there, you see the BX tractor. That's the most popular subcompact that we make. In our Gateway location, we produce currently our RTVs, our rough terrain vehicles, which are used for ranching, construction, farming, and just all around general fun. In Jefferson, we produce our loaders and backhoes, our L series tractor, and our skid steer loaders. I've got a little pause here. All right. Bear with me just a second. Our presentation's frozen for a second.
Yeah, Tim, and I'm seeing the same hourglass on my end as well. So, so we'll give this a second to clear up, and maybe this I'll just very quickly mention for those of you who may be using this platform in the future. If you did not hear the audio, I know there's a little icon of a speaker that appears on the bottom left of the video, which is an opportunity that if you click that, you can toggle your audio on and off. So that's a note for us at SME to make sure that guidance is provided before we roll the videos, to click that speaker button. Did you try advancing, Tim?
I did.
Okay.
The counter at the bottom says that I'm advancing, but the screen isn't changing. Let's see.
Well, I wonder if while it's loading, I know that one of the topics that is going to be key to this presentation, and a big part of your program is your relationship with Lanier Technical College, the technical college there in Gainesville. Do you want to take a minute and just provide some introductory comments around your work with the technical college and how that's feeding into some of your programs at Kubota?
Sure. We have 3 technical colleges that we work with. The one we work most closely with is literally just down the street, about 2 miles away, and that's Lanier Technical College here in Gainesville. We do quite a lot of work with them. Not only do we send people there for training and the programs that they offer, a lot, especially in the maintenance, industrial systems, electrical, those type of things. They also do a good bit of custom work for us. So my trainers, I wanted to recertify them to teach certain courses such as lockout, tagout, electrical safety, that sort of thing. So they did custom courses to recertify our folks, and they're working now on a upskilling session for us to train our trainers on how to present general presentation skills, how to increase retention, engagement efforts around students and that sort of thing. We have a maintenance program that's the OSHA Art Flash training. We just put 83 people of our 83 team members of our maintenance team, and they taught those classes for us as well. The other 2 that we have is in North Georgia. We have North Georgia Tech, which we get some welding students from, and then we have Athens Tech, which is closer to our Jefferson campus, and we get some weld employees out of there as well when they come out of their welding program. So we try to work with all 3, but the one that is closest to us is the one that we tend to do most of the work with.
So when you talk about what the school bringing, whether we'll use the example of weld or maintenance, how well equipped are those new job candidates coming in, and what are you doing with maybe some of your boot camps or your onboarding to acclimate some of the students? Are they going into, say, your simulated work environment straight out of the school, or tell me a little bit about that bridge or that delta as you receive some of those candidates from the schools?
That's a great question. What we do in that area is we bring the students in, and when they come in from those schools, they have a full weld certificate, which means they can do stick welding, TIG welding, MIG welding, and so forth. We only use MIG. So we take them and we bring them in and we put them through our training in order to train them on how we weld and the welders that we weld with. There's a slight difference in the fact that this school uses Lincoln and we use Miller, but that's minor. But we do focus on MIG welding, so this gives us a chance to train them on our way of welding with the MIG welders. And really, that's the only type that we use to speak of.
Sure. Are a lot of those folks coming out of the MIG welding program at Lanier Tech, is this their first introduction to working in a manufacturing environment? And for those maybe that aren't as familiar working inside a factory like Kubota, what are you doing to kind of acclimate them to the culture and to the processes? I know that with your simulated work, you've obviously got I think 2 or 3 workstations set up. Can you tell us a little bit about, someone brand new to working inside of manufacturing? How does Kubota begin to acclimate?
It depends on the area that you're going into. So our assembly training is a 5-day training program. The first day is onboarding. Then we go through fundamental stations and a mock assembly line. Weld training, we do an assessment, and then we will train up to 5 days. And then we have a weld test at the end. Our PIV, it depends on the level of operation that people have experience with and the products they have experience with to make sure it fits into what we do. So what we try to do is take the experience that the new hire has and train them up on our processes and the ways that we run the business and that we work here at Kubota. Let me ask one question. Should we refresh the screen to see if it will move forward, or what should we do?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's refresh and see if that works.
Okay. That seemed to work from my end. Good.
Yep, and I can see you. I've got the 6 pack on the screen right now.
Okay, so I'm going to continue forward then. But good questions, because it leads right into the discussion that we'll have using some visuals here now, and maybe give a little bit more information. So how let me catch up. All right, here we go.
Yep.
Home base, or where the majority of our training takes place, is in our Gainesville campus. I want to mention, though, that we do have similar activities at our Jefferson facility for some things. The assembly training is only here. Weld training, we can do both. PIV, we can do both. So there's some in safety, we do both. But this building on the left is our recruiting and training center. We work very, very closely with our recruiting team, not only to train new team members when they come in, but also we upskill many of our employees to move into better positions, such as moving from a team member to a weld shop. The building on the right, just behind the tree, is our training center, and that's where I'd like to take you on a little tour, and this will further answer some of those great questions you had.
Yep.
So let's start with assembly training. The assembly training, as I said, is expanded from a day and a half to 5 days. And we recently, just within the past year and a half, we've added 2 elements. One is the fundamentals, and one is moving assembly line. So if we look at these just a little closer, we teach basic hand tools, and that may seem strange to some people, but we have people who have never worked, or perhaps they worked in the food industry at McDonald's or something, and this is new to them. So we start off by teaching them basic tools. We follow that by an exercise that has quite a lot of things happening here. First of all, in the center there, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but in the center there you see a book. That's our standard procedure, or we call it a work instruction guide, which I know many people use that term. So those are our instructions on what to do. We have a practice pad here, the blue. The first thing it does is tells the new hire that every part has a name, every part has a part number, and every part has a location. And we start teaching those fundamentals. And that information is on the front of every one of the parts bins. Then we teach hand-eye coordination. So for instance, the triangle that you see requires 4 bolts, and it comes out of this center bin. So they have to pick up those 4 bolts without looking, and they have to do it over and over and over, because once they're on the assembly line, they could be reaching for a tool, an impact or a torquing tool at the same time. So we begin teaching those type of things. We have also a station this is actually the Minnesota Dexterity Test. This was actually developed in the medical industry for stroke patients. and it helps them to regain hand-eye coordination and finger dexterity. So we teach it by having a little fun. When they first walk up, we say, you got 14 seconds, turn them all over, go. And they don't know what to do, and pucks go flying across the floor and all this sort of thing. But then we go back to teaching a standard process, the right way to do it, how to do it in sequence, and then by the end of it, they're able to complete the test. We also start talking to them that you're not used to assembly. So your feet are going to hurt, your hands and arms are going to be sore. So soak your feet in water, take some Advil, but rest assured that within just a few days, you're going to be able to, all of those type of things will go away and you'll be able to do your job very well. The assembly stations, we have, you see here, we have the work instruction guide hanging up there, the white documents. We work with them on the first document, first wig, and then after that, they do it themselves. The instructor's close by, and make sure they do it correctly, but they have to learn to read them themselves. The work plate you see here, the black plate, we're teaching their hose assembly, hose clamp assembly, those type of things. But underneath the table, there are more plates, they're vertical there in the picture, that we can swap out to teach other things from snap rings to knobs, nuts, bolts, and so forth. All of the tools are hung up right above the stopwatch there on that magnetic bar. And I'll point out a couple other things. You see the little badge that has the red S with a square around it. We call that square S. That means that process, according to the work instruction guide, is a safety item for the customer. The best example I have there is the steering wheel on your car. It's pretty important that the steering wheel on your car is put on correctly, right? So during that process, they would take that badge and clip it onto their uniform so that we know they are doing a square S job at that moment. There's a stopwatch. The reason for the stopwatch is as they work through all the work instruction guides, they time themselves. And then at the end, when they're ready, the instructor will come over and time them and judge if they do all of the processes in the wig correctly. And there's a scoring sheet laying there on the left-hand side. So they are scored and given an overall average. This station takes 2 days. So this is typically Tuesday and Wednesday that they work through this. The other side of the station, you see the parts bins, just as we saw a few minutes ago, which has all the parts they need for the 2 days of activities. We move to our assembly line. I'm on a side track here just a minute, so I'm going to chase a rabbit because let's talk new hire retention. One of the things that we found as far as retention of our new hires, we tend to lose people in the first 30 days. So we did 2 things, very focused things, to try and help that situation. We created a second group for the training team called Gemba coaches. Gemba is a Japanese term, which means where it happens. So the Gemba coach team, their role, there's 1 per building, and their role is to touch base with every new team member that's been there 30 days or less, multiple times a week. In fact, if it's your first week on the job, they'll touch base with you 4 times a day. And it's just to answer questions, let you know that you're doing a good job. If you get a little bit behind, they can help you, those type of things. The second thing we did is put in this mock moving assembly line. This is actually 3 of our, you see one on the right there, one of our BX23 tractors. We actually had these made on the assembly line, so they are actual units that go down the line. If you look on the right-hand side, bottom right corner, there's a little white stripe, and then right behind the AGV, there's another white stripe. That is 1 station. So we have 6 stations in this loop. 3 are assembly and 3 are disassembly. So again, they go standard process according to the WIG, and to graduate, they must complete the work 3 times without error. And that usually occurs on Friday. So these folks will be in this area working Thursdays, and Fridays, and that's our 5-day program. In the center, you see the red bins and carts there. Those are for parts picking. So we teach how to pick parts and deliver them to the line for just-in-time training. I had mentioned earlier that each student is scored. We do score them at the stations, but we also have a test by which we test endurance and stamina. As you all know, not all processes require the same level of stamina and strength and endurance. Some are more. So we have an evaluation that we can do, test people against and score them. And lastly, the TV over on the left-hand wall showing the Bekidaritsu number there. We teach them that there's an Andon board in the factory floor, which numbers are important to them, and an overview of what those numbers mean. Switching a little bit to the area on the right is our weld area. We have 10 training stations for our welders. One thing I will say is that when we train on weld or weld support, those people are also trained on crane and hoist. They're certified on crane and hoist so that they have that information. This is a look at the other side, and we end this session whenever the student is ready, up to 5 days. Whenever the student is ready, we end with a test. We had a very, very simple test that now has been replaced by a test that much more closely matches the actual situations that we have on the shop floor. So we have thick metals, we have thin metals, tubes, pipes, and even the top left there is an uphill weld. Our PIV area here in Gainesville, and we also have in Jefferson, you see the stand-up forklift, sit down, and the tug. In the past, until January this year, we taught just operation. We've now expanded that to teach operation, risk assessment, and zero touch. So our operation is conducted in the open area there in the center. There's also just off screen to the left, there is a high rack. So we can teach high rack picking and setting. The brown boxes are the risk assessment. So what do we do if one pallet's heavier on one side than the other? What if they're not stacked evenly? Leaving things in front of electrical boxes or fire extinguishers. And then we have zero touch, which gets into machine safety, operator safety, and pedestrian safety. Our PIV certifications last for 36 months, assuming there's no incidents. If there's an incident, then they go back through the entire course. There's no abbreviated course. They go back through the entire course. Our central, or one of our main programs that we offer, I guess is a better way of saying it, is our safety dojo. We put every new hire through safety training in this safety dojo. In addition to that, every employee of the company goes through this safety training every year. So all 3,700 employees are trained every year with our safety dojo. It's divided into 3 areas. We have, this is personal protection, so things such as eye safety, hearing protection, hand safety, use of cutters, 5S. We move into situational awareness. For more uncommon but yet serious situations, we review things such as battery disposal, fire alarms, fire extinguisher usage. And then the third area is hazard recognitions. These are areas that you need to be aware of it when you see it, but we don't want you responding to it because we want you to be, it takes someone who is specially trained to handle that area, such as electrical safety, lockout, tagout, dock safety, confined spaces. So just to give an example, like confined spaces, if you see someone down, you want to rush in and help that person. But we teach that what we call stop, call, and wait. You get help. You don't rush in there because whatever has hurt them will hurt you. So you call and you get the proper help. Now I thought we would dive a little deeper into our actual curricula and the way that we're moving forward, developing our content, that sort of thing. You see that we have taken the employees and we've divided them into different groups, team members, floaters, managers, specialties like engineering, maintenance, professional skilled, and our leadership team. So if we look through these just a little bit, our manager training that we do and we're developing has supervisor training. So this, you see some of the things listed. In particular, we have LEAP, which means leading, empowering, achieving, and performing. To move from a team member to a floater, you're required to complete 3 modules, which is LEAP 1. To move from a floater to a team lead or supervisor, LEAP 2 has 10 modules, so it's a total of 13 modules. Site Inspection Handbook is one that I really like. It's produced by Japan, and it is distributed to every Kubota location worldwide, and it is the exact same book, and it's taught the exact same way, which teaches managers how to look, no matter where they are, constantly be looking for safety issues and develop ways of correcting those safety issues. New team member onboarding skills, that's on-the-job training and how we're working to improve it. Line safety is also on-the-job training. So, for example, if there's an incident, what do you do? Stop, call, and wait. How does that process work? Effective communication and coaching. Remember, these are perhaps first-time managers, first-time supervisors. So a great example there is how to do a proper performance evaluation, having difficult conversations, those type of things. Our leadership development, we are rolling out our new core values, mission statements, and our purpose, which I reviewed with you back at the very beginning of the presentation. For high potential employees, we have University of North Georgia. They have a management course for us that we put people through to begin learning management skills. Our leadership team is comprised of about 40 or so leaders from all campuses. We do lunch and learns. We have guest speakers to keep us up to date on what's happening in communities, nonprofits, what's the business climate in the area right now. And then for high potentials moving into an executive role, in Atlanta, there's Emory University, which has a really strong executive program that we utilize from time to time. The last group that I'll review is our specialized curriculum. We get into the maintenance team, engineering, those folks. We have Kubota Production Systems 101, 201. We have an 8-day course that is basically akin to Six Sigma lean manufacturing. You see mechatronics, robotics, and so forth. And the maintenance team, I mentioned this earlier to the question that you asked, Dan, that with the art flash training, so we've done quite a bit of that recently as well. Our partner programs, we covered the technical schools that we work with. They do a really, really good job for us, and we're very happy to be part of those and have their support. The picture on the left there is actually a namesake. We supported Lanier Tech when they were building their technical center, and they actually named it after us. So that was a feather in the cap, if you will. Our business partnerships, being in 2 cities and 2 counties, we serve in various capacities in both locations. So we have Chamber of Commerce boards, Georgia Agribusiness Council, UGA, Future Farmers of America. The Jackson County school system has a high school dedicated to college and career, which is welding, robotics, maintenance, those type of things, as well as nursing and so on. So we're on that board, advisory boards. And then I thought some people would be interested in our work-based learning program. So I added in some specs on that. We currently have, and then I'm glad to try to answer other questions too, but we currently partner with 14 local high schools. We have 65 students in-house today that are work-based learning. 5 of those have moved to full-time, 14 more are in the process of moving to full-time. We do screen them a bit through the interview process in that we want people who want a career in manufacturing. If they're just looking for a summer job, whatever, or a job through the year, we're not really interested in. But we're looking for people who are interested in manufacturing. You see the hat that the young man has on here? That's how we identify who they are. We can tell from a distance. And we're very specific on what they can do and can't do. Some of that is Georgia law, some of it is our rules, but we're very specific on what they can do. The areas there you see they're participating in, so they're getting a really good broad stroke of background and experience working for us. I know interns are not part of work-based learning, but I threw in there, we currently have 26 interns working for us. So what are we doing going forward? We are currently in the midst, literally over the past 3 weeks, rolling out our new learning management system. It's the first one the company's Kubota Manufacturing has ever had. So that's rolling out, and we're continuing to bolster our overall learning effort and our curriculums development that I've already talked about, and then we're scaling up our staff as well. So Dan, I have to say that we're very humble and grateful for this award from SME and Tooling U. These are some of our training and Gimba Coach team members, along with our president, Brian Arnold, in the dark blue shirt, our vice president of HR and facilities in the light blue shirt behind him, Ryan Owen, and Mary Overholt, who is our director of HR. So I will draw my remarks to a conclusion so we can answer questions, but by saying this, if you're expanding your effort or you're starting a new effort to train people in learning and development, I offer 2 keys. 1, build a good solid team. The people you see here and the rest of the team, they came from the floor. They know production. They understand it. They know how to communicate, and they're a solid team. The second is executive support. Mr. Arnold and his team have done some tremendous things. It's huge investments, yes, money-wise. In addition to that, they are tremendously supportive. They come through and talk to the students. They talk to the instructors. They encourage them. They're very personable, and it just helps to build that team stronger and stronger and stronger. So as you work to upskill your workforce, as we have and we continue to do, I hope that the information I've conveyed will be helpful to you and you can use it.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. No, that's terrific, and there are a lot of terrific questions here in the chat, and so without any ado, let's go ahead and get into them. I'm going to combine actually a couple of questions, and this will be more around your community and maybe sort of either competitive environment or just some of your pipeline, conditions that you work with. Are there other employers that are also competing for the same kind of programs, whether it's with Lanier, the technical college, or the high schools? And as part of that, do you offer factory tours and other ways to open up your operations to the community to help support some of that pipeline work that you're doing?
So yes, this area is very competitive from the standpoint of the labor force. The Gainesville area in particular is very large into poultry production. So we have a lot of factories and companies who produce processing equipment for the poultry industry. In fact, this is the largest poultry industry in the world, is here in Gainesville. So we're competing with them. Toyota has a place nearby. We have other competitors that are close. We also have support companies that we utilize their services, their products, that are looking for the same type of people. So they are looking at Lanier Tech and Athens Tech, the same technical schools that we use, and the same high schools, the same resources, same that we are. So yes, we really do not offer like an open door tour of our facilities. We can make arrangements for that. For our employees, we have an employee day in the fall, and all of their families and grandchildren are invited. And when we do that, we typically offer a tour of the factory that we host that at. But as far as just like open to the public, we don't offer necessarily factory tours for that.
I noticed in some of your own bio notes that you're fifth generation in the ag community out in that area. Can you recall, as you think back across your life and what you've learned from your family and the generations, you know, is Kubota doing something extraordinarily new here, or have those doors always kind of been open to the community? I wanted to tap kind of a long view from you and see if this is innovative as far as you can tell.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I am fifth generation on the farm here in North Georgia, and the Kubota brand is built on quality. The products that we produce are the highest quality in the industry, but that is due directly to the people who are assembling them, to our workers, to our team members. They care. They really take pride in the company and in the products that we produce. There's a real sense of teamwork when you go down on to each of the assembly lines and you walk the assembly lines, and they're just a really solid group of folks to work with. I'm fortunate to be part of it.
I'll ask a follow-up question. It's kind of a little detailed down in the weeds, but it speaks to this commitment of quality. We had a participant interested in your Gemba coaches that you spoke about, and just knowing that you're working with 3,500, 3,700 employees, you know, is there a target ratio or you know, between number of coaches and number of associates that you're working towards, or how do you spread yourself across?
Oh, good question. The way that we look at it is per building, because we have 3,700 employees, but remember, we onboard, well, when we were coming out of COVID, we would onboard as many as 120 a week. Right now, we're probably onboarding around 40 a week. So to keep track of those people over the course of 30 days, or maybe a little bit longer, it isn't the 3,700 number. Although the Gemba coaches are very good at getting to know lots of people and helping from that sense, but we focus it more of one person per building. So the people in that building know who that person is, and they can work directly with them when they see them coming. So it's more around the one person than it is a ratio of the buildings. The other thing that they do, just to expand on the Gemba coach thought process a little bit, our Gemba coaches, it's their job, yes, to touch base with the new hires, as I mentioned before, starting off 4 times a day, then maybe the second week, 3 or 4, and so on. But they also look for Kaizen projects. So if an employee is having to reach above their head to pick a heavy part, then we will introduce a process to have that part moved to a lower area so that the heavier part is easier to pick up and less likely to harm someone. So they're also looking and managing those type of projects as well. So it's kind of a two-phase approach there.
Terrific, terrific. Lots of questions about your work with those 14 high schools and some of that that work opportunity that you provide for them. So I'll ask a couple of questions together. One is, what kind of headwinds might you have encountered in working with the high schools to provide that opportunity? Was there any resistance that you had to, negotiate or manage to bring those students out onto the shop floor? And then you mentioned that you really, as a priority, wanted to screen for those who were looking for a manufacturing career. Is there more you might be able to say about how you screened, either formally or informally, to shake out those folks that are more career-minded with that opportunity?
Yeah, the key to this program is the counselors within each school. That's who you want to target. You go into the school, you work with a counselor, because we can't get in front of all the students, but the counselor can. All the students who would be interested in this, the counselor can get there. So you build that relationship with the counselors, and then the counselors are the ones who help you get the students in the door from that standpoint. And it's key. That's the key to making the program work. Of the schools that we work with, which I believe it was 14 of them, we have really good relationships with them. At least once a year, maybe twice a year, they let us on campus and we're able to speak to students. And we can do kind of an overview type work in that area, but the counselors are the ones who really help us the most. From that point, then once we have the students interested, in work-based learning, there's a lot of areas they could go into. They could go into nursing. They could go into other fields. Right now, my mind's drawing a blank, but other fields. But what we're after are the students who want to go into manufacturing. So our hope, of course, is that they will come on board and become employees, and then they already know that Kubota, they already know our quality and so forth. But that's why we focus on those students who have that interest to staying in manufacturing. And then we try to, if they have a strong interest in weld, we try to put them in a weld shop. If they have a strong interest in the engineering side, we try to give them experience in the engineering side and so forth.
So let's talk a little bit about effectiveness and retention. So you've done a tremendous amount of work, and as you mentioned, you've got that investment from leadership, the commitment. You've got, I think you said something like 40 leaders that are committed to the lunch and learns and everything else. So let's look at some numbers. We'll start with your 40 employees per week or something like that. I think we heard that you might be onboarding. What did that look like 5 years ago, and what does that look like today as far as, fallout and retention?
Yeah, well, the most difficult time, as most of us online would recognize, was during COVID. Of course, that created a lot of situations. As we came out of COVID and we start ramping back up, in our world, you can think of it like automobiles. During COVID, sales dropped, dealers dropped their inventory so they wouldn't have carrying costs. We dropped the amount of inventory that we would carry and the amount of whip that we would have in place coming through the factory. When we started coming out of that, all of that pipeline had to be replenished. So we ramped up very, very quickly. And as a result, we were onboarding a lot of people. And now we're stabilizing and the market is stable. The dealers' inventory levels are good. The customers are buying and they're back to a comfortable level now. So as the leadership team gets together and we look at things like that, that's when we have to make determinations of where our market's going and what the demand's going to be on us to produce those products for the market. So that's why numbers went from, say, 120 a week onboarding down to 40, 50-ish. It depends on demand. And of course, you have attrition, retirements, all that sort of thing taking place as well. So we have to backfill those positions.
But as far as, folks, turning their back and dropping out of the boot camp or the onboarding in the first week, is there anything else you might share around percentages or the positive impact of hanging on to those folks because of the investment that your organization has made towards onboarding?
I'll use one example, and it's one that I use when I'm discussing this. We implemented the moving assembly line and the fundamentals at the first of the year. One of the things we found is when employees, new hires who had not been in assembly, made it to the assembly floor, they didn't understand what assembly was. They didn't understand it was moving. They had to do their job in a certain area, or the next person couldn't do theirs, those type of things. When we installed the moving assembly line the first week, we had 60 new hires. Of those, 7 walked out and said anything from, this isn't the work for me, it isn't what I was expecting, I just can't keep up, and if it's like this on the floor, I don't think I can do it. So that's 7 people that in the past would have gone through training and gone to the floor and perhaps stayed there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then left.
That's right.
So the changes to training that we made and putting in that assembly line and giving them this, although it's not 100% accurate, it still gave them the idea of how the process worked and how they had to keep up. That helped them to understand what's required of them more than we've had in the past. And we found it to be very effective in weeks that followed as well.
Any ESL language barriers in your community or region that you also have to manage?
We absolutely do. I think the last count we had something like 17 nationalities working at the company. We do have those issues. We try to screen out as best we can. We stayed up front that all of our work instruction guides, all of our standards are in English. The application for work is in English. The documents that we cover during our orientation and then on our onboarding are in English. So that helps us in those areas. We are, we're not moving forward yet, but we're investigating, let me say. English as a second language, or reading skills, or people who perhaps are not adept at reading or English comprehension. So we're looking at those type of things now to see if we might offer something in the future.
Terrific. Just a couple of questions. A number of folks are curious if there's anything you'd like to share about your new toy, your LMS that you're about to cut the ribbon on, or maybe you're not about to cut the ribbon on. Those can be pretty hefty projects. Tell us a little bit about your journey on LMS, and is there anything maybe that you want to highlight that you're looking forward to this LMS delivering, besides content?
Well, yeah, most of the training, or I'm going to back up. I'm going to say all of the training that we've done thus far, just about is instructor led. The LMS that we chose, for those of you who are wondering, is the Absorb LMS. We chose it. It has some good functionality. They have, we're finding out good support. I wouldn't say great at this point, but good support. But also they're used by Kubota Tractor Corporation, which is the dealer-facing group, Kubota Canada, and Kubota engines. They're either using them or moving toward them. So it seems to be a North America corporate thing. From the LMS rollout standpoint, this is the third one that I've done. And I see on the horizon that it's really going to help us. A lot of our content or certifications, for example, like PIV, which is stand-up forklift, sit-down forklift, and tug, those require web-based training before you go into the actual instructor-led training. Or crane and hoist is another example. It will really help us in tracking those type of things and offering those things. And then, of course, we all know the impact that LMS can have with management and leadership development, all of the competency courses, compliance courses, all those type of things. So we're very excited to have it. We just have to go through the typical pain of onboarding.
Sure, and stabilizing and plan, do, check, adjust, and all of that. So, well, good luck with that. So I see that we're up on the hour. I know there's a number of additional questions that we haven't been able to get to. Reminding everybody that we are recording the session and we will be sending out the copy of the slides. You'll have access to the material, and if there's an opportunity for us to respond to any of the unanswered questions in writing, we can do that as well. We'll also make sure that you have Tim Miller's contact information if any of you want to reach out to Tim directly and talk more about the great work that they're doing down there in Gainesville. With that, Tim, as we wind down, is there anything that you'd like to close on from your chair?
Well, I just once again appreciate the opportunity. It's exciting to us as the training team and Gimbal Coach team. We consider it one team here. It's exciting to us to be able to share what we do and hope that it helps someone else and helps in your business. Maybe you pick up something that'll help, and that's our hope. So we just appreciate the opportunity, and we appreciate all that Tooling U and SME is doing for the industry.
Well, thank you, Tim, and it's our hope as well, as all of you have had an opportunity to hear what a world-class organization is doing to support their community of over 3,700 employees in Gainesville. If you're interested in staying in contact with Tooling U-SME, the training and development organization with SME, that's toolingu.com. Obviously, sme.org is the website for the larger organization and all the things that we're doing across the ecosystem. Come and join our community, and certainly reach out to Tim and Kubota as well. So with that, we'll close. We'll thank everybody for your time today. Thank you for your patience as we managed across some new technology horizons together, and look forward to seeing you all on our next call. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.